you a practical information. It was funny because I told you I did like David Sinclair with resveratrol. Most of the experiments I have done were performed at Rockefeller University, so I did 3+1 patents on curcumin derivatives able to interact with that enzymes that I have explained and able to prevent or ameliorate Alzheimer's disease. And now they are under clinical trials, so probably in few years some real drugs will come out in the market based on my studies. But the real beginning of the story was here in London. I was for 1 year at the Arrow on the Hill. The name was Middlesex Medical College, something like that. A huge hospital with a fantastic labs dedicated to vascular diseases. And we started to study curcumin because hemoxygenase is very good also in terms of cardiovascular disease prevention. And we studied curcumin and we started doing cynetics, to look at the real bioavailability of the compounds when you eat it. This is very important with food. So you don't not only you have to know that is a potential working compound, but you have to know the real absorption of your body after you eat the compound. So the funny story is that we didn't use rats, but we used ourselves. I mean, I used myself. I was the chief of the experiment. So I became at that time. I'm sorry for the Chinese, but like a Chinese, completely yellow skin, and also I was always with blood testing already attached. And the reality is that you need a huge amount of curcumin to reach the right concentration to activate that pathway in the blood. But there are tricks, and this was the origin of the patents to ameliorate the absorption. The problem with all the polyphenols included resveratrol, but curcumin is in this case is very delicate. So in the stomach and the first part of the gut, there are specialized cells called CaCO2 cells that as soon as they detect a polyphenol, I mean a xenobiotic, something that is outside of our biochemistry, attack it with a group of enzymes called the detoxifying enzyme of type 2, and they link to the molecule glucuronic acid or glutathione, substances that render this molecule more hydrophilic. So most of this of the curcumin after this modification is immediately expleted again in the stomach and went away. So is a way to, because it is looked by our body as a poison, although it's not toxic. Is thank you, but I feel better. Yeah, well, it's like a star. Well, no. I will start to sing, well, yeah. Okay. So the trick is easy, and you can use phytotherapy to avoid the problem. So after a lot of experiment, the best formulation of pure curcumin is 400 milligram per day, with in the same formulation 20 milligram of bromelain. Bromelain is coming from the pineapple. Is an anti-inflammatory, but has a very good anti-protease activity. So I don't know what's happened, but reduce the ability of CaCO2 cells to start immediately with the metabolism 2 reaction. So there is a better absorption of curcumin. And another trick is to add also 10 milligram of piperine from black pepper. Piperine is another polyphenol that is a light irritant. I mean, improve the absorption of the, improving probably the blood flow near the microvessel around the CaCO cell. cells. So if you use, and this is the normal situation, not the pure compound, but a raw extract of turmeric, that is the main source of curcumin, you have to consider 500 milligrams per day, because usually the contents of curcumin in a good quality extract that you can find on the market is around 80–90% of curcumin, or curcuminoids that they have the same kind of activity. So, resveratrol is worst. I mean, so we are trying now in my lab again in humans. That is the best model when you are working with supplements. So you don't need to utilize. I hate to work with animals. So for several reasons, mostly because at the end you have data that are not really. I know, again, it's a clue, but not a real data that you can apply directly to your practice. No. So we are trying to ameliorate the absorption of resveratrol. Again, there is some difficulties at the beginning, but respect curcumin a little bit more. The difference is this: it looks like that resveratrol metabolites. I mean, resveratrol linked to glucuronic acid, it works at the same level in order to activate sirtuin. It is not true for the activation of hemoxygenase by curcumin. So if you link the curcumin's metabolites linked to other things are less effective, while it seems that resveratrol metabolites works well, such as the pure resveratrol. Anyway, we are trying to ameliorate the absorption utilizing some trick that worked with curcumin, not the bromelain, some chemical trick, changing the ring position of chemical groups inside the molecule. Probably already patented by the guys in Harvard, because I don't know what they patented. Some of the patents are not yet published. So we'll see.
Do you measure anything inside the brain, like through the CSF? Or
What?
Do you measure anything inside the brain actually?
In that, yes. In that case, we did it on rat, because for no, I am I mean generous with science, but not so much. So it's impossible. Well, the only way to measure something like that in vivo in humans will be to using NMR spectroscopy, looking at carbon monoxide levels or bilirubin levels that are detectable in one way as a spectrum, but it's difficult to have the machinery, it's difficult to focus on that compounds. So at the moment it's impossible. So it will be possible. So the best way is to give the compounds to a rat and then take the brain and measure the activity and the levels of the compounds. Yeah, the problem is just the gastric barrier, because it's quite lipophilic, so easily cross the blood-brain barrier. The problem is not crossing a physical barrier, because it's really lipophilic. I mean, cross very well inside the cell. The problem is that in the first part of the stomach there is a high level of metabolism, so they changed the compound. This is the fact. Okay, so this is the light story, but I don't know if I will be a nice teller, but it's happened 1 year ago. I told you. Okinawa is a strange country. I mean, it's a small island south of Japan that for 2000 years was a very famous and separate kingdom, completely independent kingdom, called the Ryukyu Kingdom, with a very specific ethnic group and culture.